We now move into another exciting fire chat on connected mobility ecosystems and real-time IoT integration, exploring how seamless connectivity and intelligent systems are shaping the future of transportation in India. For this, I would like to invite on stage Aurindam Bhattacharya, Scientist, G, Center for Development of Telematics, Government of India. Please welcome him with a round of applause. Anas Feroz, DERS, Ministry of Railways, Government of India. In order to moderate this fireside chat, I would like to invite on stage Rajneesh sir.
So the discussion is around connected mobility ecosystem and real-time IoT integration. And what I would like to start with you perhaps, when we talk about the overall mobility ecosystem of railways, who are all the stakeholders? Because that's the first important part. Once you identify the stakeholders, then you sort of assign their responsibilities and monitor that. So according to you, who are all the stakeholders and what are their primary responsibilities?
I guess, hello. The major stakeholders, I guess, the question that you have put up are the main, the railway officers, the customers that we are dealing with, the third-party contractors that are working in railways, that are building the railways, and most important is the Commissioner Railway Safety, which is a very integral part of railways, who ensures that all the railway lines are up to the mark, up to the standard, and who gives the final commissioning orders.
Okay, and more importantly, how do you foresee the integration between these stakeholders happening?
Integration of all these components should be through a robust check and balance mechanism. We have to ensure that all the vendors that are participating in the IoT integration of railways go through a balanced checks. As sir has already mentioned, that most of the AMC contractors are only providing the AMC contracts for a limited time period. After that, it is the responsibility of railways to make sure that they float another AMC contract. So all the IoT devices that are being installed in railways should have a comprehensive contract which should be extended for another period, to make sure that any failure which happens in it is being handled by an excellent team of supervisors.
Okay, so very importantly, the contractual obligations of each of these OT systems should be clearly defined from the beginning. Arindam, I'll put the question to you similarly. This synergy between these different stakeholders, and more importantly, how do you sort of conform to those synergies so that no disruption or discrepancy might take place?
Okay, I'll address this question slightly differently. See, before you bring in synergy, you'll have to define the rules of the game. And that is what is primarily missing, as I can see. Railways is an ocean in itself, right? It's a huge industry. And in this industry, if you're trying to bring in various stakeholders and all working towards a common purpose, and the recipient of, there are givers and takers. We are primarily engaging all these contractors, and through them, we are deploying solutions. And those solutions are getting consumed by railway themselves for the improvement of efficiencies and kind of solving problems, as well as you are improving passenger experience. So the recipient side, passengers and railways, and on the those who are providing it are those other stakeholders. You'll have to bring in a standard across all of them. Current definition of standard is very loosely worded, that we could discover while working with railways, wherein different silos are created for the same solutions, at different places. Unless and until we are very clear that, okay, we have to follow a common horizontal standard across all ecosystem and define those standards, those data models, those endpoints, then you will find the synergy, because the givers will also be equally clear as to what we are supposed to provide, and the takers will then have a very clear, kind of ground to evaluate what these givers are there. And I'll add to what he said, the contract management and those also will become far more easier. Today, end of life is not defined just by a contractor's own wish list. It is also the technology that might age within a period of time. What will you do if the technology is not available? Whatever document that you produce, that is not going to serve your purpose. Otherwise, you will be caught in that time warp thing, right? So to bring in that, you should ensure a system which is agile enough. Today is a world of agility. Until you bring in an ecosystem wherein you allow new technologies to get onboarded despite having known that, okay, this is my ultimate objective and that will be met irrespective of technology. So that is how things are going to be there. Thank you.
Thanks. So I'll come back to you again. You mentioned the beginning that the problem is that many of these railways things are working in silos. Now, what if when we are talking about these IoT devices or sensors, the OT part, many of these are legacies and their end of life is longer than the IT systems. So now, if each of the silos, there is not that internal synergy, someone might be replacing, someone might not be. So how does it impact the important things like the signaling systems or the communication networks of railways? What sort of impact it could have, and what should be how should a proper roadmap be defined so that there is synergy between these silos?
I'll tell that. I'll draw a reference from telecom. Right, I'm coming from telecom world, and my expertise lies in IoT, so I'll define from there. Telecom used to be a very proprietary thing in the past, having a very large shelf life, right? Equipment used to have a life of 10 to 15 years, right? But they were proprietary, huge cost. Slowly and steadily, now you are seeing that with the advent of 4G and 5G, now we are cloudified everything. So cloud means, again, the same IT ecosystem which is being used in other than telecom will be used in telecom as well. So that is the agility that telecom has brought in. And what this new paradigm of cloud and DevOps has brought into the ecosystem is that everybody has understood technology will move very fast. Your IT system shelf life is very limited, 5 years. So in 5 years, my use case should not suffer.
True.
My application should not suffer. I replace the equipment, despite that my solution will continue to go. My operating system will keep changing every 6 months. A new release comes in. Let it come. It should not hamper my use case. The same has to be thought by railways. Signaling system, yeah, it's a signaling system which is proven over a long period of time, but it also is demanding change because of changing times. Because of the new age, world over, people are changing, right? So when we talk about IoT, what is missing in IoT, what we discovered is that the IoT system, like everywhere, wherever IoT, not railways is not the only, sufferer in this. Every IoT ecosystem, because when it started in a very siloed manner. So everybody started deploying in very siloed manner. Railways also did that, right? Their RDPMS, call it RDPMS, or for that matter, the solutions that are deployed in stations or tracking of wagons, everything was being done in siloed manner and still being done in siloed manner. Whereas there could have been a very thoughtful way, because that is available, of integrating a horizontal ecosystem, horizontal standard already defined by the telecom ministry as a common service layer, wherein divergent applications can be plugged into that as a horizontal ecosystem, and solutions can be implemented based on that. That gives you a freedom from moving away from vendor lock-in. A horizontal standard will allow multiple players, because now the interfaces are defined, rule sets are defined, and the hardware doesn't mean anything, because ultimately the hardware is basically giving you information which is generated by the sensors, acted upon by the actuators, and those might change with time. New technologies may come. Today you might be using 5G, tomorrow there's 6G coming in, right? And why that? You can use a LPWAN technology also in that. So all these technologies should just be the enabler, not be something which is restricting you for some purpose. So technology will come. Technologies have to be embraced for your benefit. Plug that in. Your planning should be that you are not locked into some kind of a vendor-driven thing or in a technology which not allows you, or the cost of change is too high, prohibitive. So you have to see for it that which brings my total cost of ownership. The initial cost might be high, but what is the total cost of ownership over a period of time, 10 years, 15 years down the line? What is going to sustain me that? And what is also sustainability point of view, from the energy sustainability point of view, what is going to be having a low carbon footprint, that also has to be thought at this point in time. So all this actually demands for a new thought process.
Okay, thanks. Coming to you, what he mentioned, see, there is this, I'll say, a symbiotic relation between the railway network and the telecom network. Most of the systems won't function. So the challenges that he mentioned, in terms of that, when you are looking at deployment, what are the challenges that you are facing, and how are you looking to mitigate those kind of challenges?
So I'd like to answer this question, since I was earlier working with Delhi Metro. I was looking after rolling stock RS2 and RS1. So when I joined Delhi Metro, I was very fascinated by this ATP and ATO mode, in which the driver was getting speed indicators in manual mode. He got to know the idea at which speed he has to drive. And in automatic mode, the train will run automatically. But when I switched to railways, when I cracked engineering services examination, when I joined railways as AW Operation Prayagraj, most of my night sleeps were abandoned by failures due to driver errors. There was no option of automatic signaling of neutral section. So it was wholly dependent on the driver's capability to make sure that VCB is opened before every neutral section. Now, with the advent of Kavach, so very by the Honorable Minister and by Shri Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi ji, this Kavach is a master stroke for Indian Railways. But the main challenge is that such a huge network, how do we incorporate such a technology so that each and every department of railways work in together to make sure that this Kavach is implemented. So earlier we had 3 OEMs, HBL, Clinics and Medha, but due to the huge number of locomotives, 2 more OEMs are going to get inculcated in this Kavach module. And I think the main important thing about IoT is not just the installation part. We have to make sure that what happens if Kavach fails? What is the mode of operation that a driver has to maintain to make sure that we do not go back to the manual operation, right? And in this, as sir mentioned, the cloud computing will play a very major role. The RFID technology will play a major role. All our stakeholders like station master, he will play a very important role in case Kavach fails in a network. He has to make sure that the proper maintenance team is deployed at the right time. So I think in a nutshell, railways and telecom has to work together hand in hand to make sure this Kavach thing is successful for the long run. And right now 3 OEMs are there, 2 more will come, and I think this technology will make every passenger safety first and foremost for Indian Railways.
Great. Kavach is obviously very critical, and especially after some certain major accidents like the Balasore one, that thing comes up. I have 2 very fundamental questions to ask of you. One, once these where in Kavach you are trying to do away with the manual intervention part from the driver's perspective. So how do you balance with the budgetary costs of the whole system? And more importantly, when you are saying there are 3 OEMs, 2 more are coming into the fold, how do you ensure the SLAs or the whatever the agreements with these OEMs, they are properly conformed to? How do railways ensure that?
So for this, the safety integration level 4 has been employed in Kavach. So all the new OEMs have to go through a safety integration check. The devices that they are making has to have a certain standard. So earlier when the Kavach idea was floated, 3 firms like Medha, Crenix and HBL came to the forefront, and they maintained, they built all the devices that was needed at that point of time. But I think due to the, like I said earlier also, so many locos are there, so many tracks are there. So in a nutshell, if I say what is basically Kavach, if I explain it, so in Delhi Metro, what happens is there are basically electro-pneumatic contactors which are installed at the base of the engine, and the track also has those magnets. So before any signal or any neutral section, the train knows that this point is going to come, right? So encompassing different sections and different, like for example, if a track Kavach has been installed by HBL, and in the next section Medha has installed the Kavach. So we have to make sure that all of these components have a certain level of safety, that is SIL 4. So that is the first and foremost thing that you asked. Second is all these components should be, the architecture should be operable throughout, right? There should not be any blockage that for example, if the loco controller was installed by Medha, so it should have an integration level with the station master panel, which has installed at the railway station. And the RFID tags that are being installed on the tracks, they should also be incorporatable with all the components. So right now we are trying to make sure that all the components which are being required for Kavach have a safety integration check. That is the first point. And second, they should be interoperable.
So Aurindam, the question is an extension of what Anas mentioned in terms of the standards. You mentioned the uniformity in standards, and especially when we are talking about Kavach is a critical example, and with all these OEMs also into the fray, and there can be from X OEM in one phase, another OEM in another phase. How do you ensure an organization like railways should have that uniformity in standards?
See, whatever solution, when I was speaking in relation to IoT, because IoT, we have a very well-defined standard which is adopted by TEC. That's what I'm talking. It is also in BIS. Similarly, Kavach also is not, a proprietary solution. The Kavach, the requirements might be unique to railways in Indian Railways per se, but the elements of technology that are being used in Kavach are very standardized. The only thing is that adherence to those standards and the conformance to those standards should be verified, and they should be there in the RFP itself. Their RFP should very clearly define that what standards and they are asking for, right? And that should be a very strict compliance to be provided by that. Not only that, because Kavach is not one standard per se. Kavach actually integrates multiple standards within itself, right? So all those standards and the progression of those standards should also be kept in mind, because Kavach is not going to be deployed for 10 years, right? It has to progress, it has to have advancements. So those advancements also should be kept in mind, that in the horizon, the technology is changing. So with the new technology, how will they be able to embrace that technology? Again, that same lock-in should not happen.
True.
Right? So that has to be thought through at the very outset and should be incorporated before getting into a contract. So this is still, I think, but I believe the advancement has already been made. Now it is going to be implemented. So, I mean, Railways has to see it carefully that.
So one, in fact, I'll put it again to you. I mentioned that the budgetary challenges, and Railways being a public organization, that is one aspect that needs to be looked. So when both for IoT as well as for something like Kavach, when we are talking about these standards, and that will involve steps or processes which will pose a budgetary challenge. How can an organization like Railways manage those challenges?
I think for Railways he should answer, but for me, as not from a, from a person from CDOT, from a technology organization, for me the best thing is that latest technology should get implemented. But as a citizen, I must say that Kavach is for what? Passenger safety. And nothing is more paramount than safety, right? I mean, I had the privilege of having heard Dr. Ashwini Vaishnav very closely, and I'm in awe with that gentleman. He says that we are eyeing for zero tolerance as far as security is concerned. And look at the way he has moved Railways in the forefront. I believe on his agenda and Honorable Prime Minister's agenda also, safety of Railways is at the very top. So I don't think budget should be a constraint where safety aspects are being talked about. So it should be definitely, public money cannot be wasted down the drain. So cautiously, but with that intent that safety cannot be compromised, cannot be ignored, the best solution should be adopted, particularly in case of solutions like Kavach, or any solution which actually is for the safety of the citizens and passengers per se.
I'd like to add one more point to what Sir has said. We are looking at Kavach from passenger safety point of view. One more aspect about Kavach is during fog, the train operation gets hampered because the loco pilot is not able to see the signal aspect. So from the operational perspective also, Kavach is going to be a game changer, right? During fog, the loco pilot is going to get the aspect of this signal on his display, and he has to make sure now earlier what used to happen, like there's a big rule which applies during fog. The train speed gets reduced to 40 kmph or even 10 kmph in case of very poor visibility. So from the operational perspective also, all these kind of failures, all these kind of train delays that happens in railways during fog are not going to happen if Kavach is successfully implemented. So we have to seek Kavach from both points, from passenger safety point of view and from operational point of view as well.
Okay. So in fact, last round I will ask, I'll start with you. When we are talking about railways, is now talking about smart railways, smart stations. What are exactly the components, and how do you foresee the roadmap, that future roadmap, when we are moving towards smart railways or smart stations?
So smart stations, the best way to think about is the automatic monitoring of passenger crowd. How much crowd is there, footfall monitoring. The second is the lux value monitoring. Now, while I was AEE General Services in Prayagraj, we used to have this 70-30 rule. So when the train comes to the platform, 70% of light will be switched on. When the train will go, 30% of light will be switched on. So this was done manually. Now with the advance of automatic lux meters, these things can be controlled through IoT devices. Second is the ticket vending machines. We can install IoT devices in those also. And I like to ask Sir further if he has to add some more points to this.
Yeah, the
Definitely.
smart railways and smart stations, the future.
Not future, current. Iron Yantrak is already talking about 6, and which we CDOT's platform, CCSP, CDOT Common Service Platform, which is based on the global standard, and that's the national standard of Government of India. We have already deployed, more than 120 or 150 odd devices have already been installed in various stations all across the country, wherein 3070 lighting is very much working. Automatic monitoring of the lifts,
What about,
escalators.
sir, here, just one question. We know the quality or standard of connectivity is still not uniform across the country, the geographical things in hinterland. So how do you tackle the issue? These stations are spread across, and it's a vast country.
See, the point is, when you are banking upon only one connectivity technology, you will always be hampered by this. The horizontal standard which we are promoting does not necessitate you to have a kind of mobility connectivity only. Today, if you are saying, see, we have done humongous progress in connectivity, right? Internet is available even in rural areas. Mobile, even the village people
The
are now
quality,
using,
I'm mentioning.
fine, the quality. See, when you are talking about IoT, that is how you design a solution, right? If you are too dependent on everything to be controlled centrally and in real time, you will fail in your implementation, right? So a lot of emphasis has to be given what and how can you do certain things at the edge itself, right? So dividing things between the edge and the central part of it, which is not very time sensitive, what can be taken at the core, that to be taken to the core, what is very necessary to be done in real time, that has to be done at the edge. So these kind of definitions and design values have to be thought through and implemented like that. And we have done so in case of Iron Yantrak, and we are also planning to do more. You spoke about, the question was about what are you looking forward to?
Smart railways.
Smart railways is not confined to the platforms
So,
alone.
exactly, autonomous driving we heard in the morning.
Autonomous driving will come maybe, sometime, there's still some time. We are a populous country, right? So there
True.
we have to think other aspects also. You cannot simply kind of ape Western countries just for the
Exactly.
sake of things that it is being adopted there, where population is too less, to a country where we have to actually
You have to
give
look at the
jobs
job
also.
security.
Look at the jobs also, right? So so I'll not touch that particular part of it, but otherwise, the passenger experience in coaches, the failure, water is not available in coaches. How do you ensure? If you see the implementation of water solution in coaches, right, it is ancient, and you have those top-end reservoir with 3 motors underneath, which keeps on running without any water, gets burnt out. So there's a lot of scope of IoT integration in our existing coaches. I'm not talking about Tejas or Vande Bharat alone. They have built with those integrated sensors and integrated solutions, but again, proprietary, right?
True.
You have to come up with solutions. There are ample scope. Your lavatory, why can't the lavatories be, if the lavatory has been provisioned? Metro lavatories are not provisioned because of the thought process at that point in time. But in long distance trains, lavatories are an essential part of it. Why can't they be usable? They can be hygienic. Why can't they be monitored? Because monitoring is not happening. That is why they are. So how do you ensure the food that is being served in Shatabdi or in the previous thing? I think food was also touched upon, right? The food quality is going down. The food delivery many a times causes dissatisfaction amongst passenger. How do you ensure the passenger experience is enhanced, right? Faults are rectified at a very short period of time. So these are the problem statements, and IoT is the solution for all this. So we have those technologies at hand. We are going to have 6G in the future. 5G is already there. Integrate that, use the features of 5G, use the existing features of LPWAN, use the features whatever are available. AI ML is advancing like anything. Bring in those aspects. Passenger footprint is something in real time which you can know, but getting a trend analysis as to when number of passengers increase and what factors, and based on that your local connectivity to the stations also can be
So
improved.
the predictive
Those are
maintenance part of
yes,
it.
yes, analytics, future trend analysis, and on top of it creating models, autonomous model creation, so that you know that what problem is going to crop up. You can avoid a lot of accidents if you are bringing in those kind of models also in place, right?
What about training the relevant people? What's your experience been?
I guess for Kavach, Sikandrabad ERISET was the nodal agency, but it had a lot of issue with training the whole set of supervisors. So Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav, he had this brilliant idea. He contacted one of the best edtechs right now. You might have heard of Physics Wala, right? So his officer on special duty, he contacted the founder of Physics Wala, and I was for a part-time attached with that project. So what we did was we took a number of GATE faculties to reset Sikandrabad, and Honorable Minister's vision was very sorted. He wanted that during the Balasore accident that happened was due to the error in the construction part. So he wanted to make sure that all the staff that are going to work on the Kavach project get hands-on training for Kavach, whether he is a railway employee, whether he is a contractual employee. And Physics Wala built that platform within 20 days, which included each and everything starting from the installation part to the maintenance part to the operational part, and which was I think valued at around 700 rupees. And the other products for Kavach was available at around 30 to 35,000 rupees. So this was a major breakthrough in that training part, and I think ERISET Kavach is doing a wonderful job in training all the officers and the supervisors for Kavach.
Thank you. Thanks. I think anyone has any question for the speakers?
Before you ask a question, can I add to something what you just said?
Sure.
Railways have to think in the tune of digital twins. For training purposes, it is very important. See, doing hands-on on the real thing across the expanse and gamut of railways might be costly affair. First thing, many a times feasible, time-consuming. Create digital twins, at least for the training purposes. Create those models wherein you can evaluate the trainers and also the trainees through digital means. That will serve a lot of purpose.
So one last thing I want to add, during that course which we have built with Physics Wala, we also built a 3D simulation model also, in which all the technicians can wear a VR headset and they can walk on the track and install RFID tags. The second is the technicians who are working in the locomotives. So they have built such a beautiful platform in which the technician can go into the locomotive by wearing headset, and he can see how to switch on the loco, how to operate the loco during failure mode. And this product can be first in a pilot mode, can be launched in all the zonal railway training institutes. And the most important thing about this learning course should be centralized. This should not be left with zonal railways, because then pilferage and leakages will start to happen.
Sure. Yes, sir, you were saying something. That's a bigger policy level question. Okay. So before we disperse for lunch, I'd like to call yes, you can mention.
Thank you to all the speakers in this fireside chat. I would like to request Rajneesh sir for felicitating our speakers with a token of gratitude.